Well, right now we're going to talk to somebody I've been looking forward to for quite some time to talk to, Jeff Holder. He's the president and the CEO of Worldwide Advance. It's a cutting-edge ministry working on the front lines of some of the world's hot spots out there, and in particular Syria and around the world, and evangelism in the Middle East. And Jeff, what a delight to have you, sir. Where are you?
I'm in Los Angeles. Is where I am right now. That's where I live, and our main office is here in LA as well.
All right. Nice to have you with us today, and thanks for your time. We watched just in the last couple of days, well, actually in the last month or so, things heat up in Syria. And then, of course, recently Israel got involved in exchange in the last couple of days. So what's going on over there?
Well, what we're always trying to do is tell the story of the folks that are there on the ground. And we are in contact and have relationships with friends there who are in the region that are believers. And what we hear is really absolutely devastating. I would even venture to say it's worse than what we actually see on the news, especially for the plight of a lot of the Christians. Christians are obviously a minority, but a lot of times they're not even allowed into the refugee centers. Because they're Christians, you know, and so it is a terrible situation. There are so many people who are displaced. There's no supplies, there's not food, there's not gasoline for your car, and it's been going on for a long time, and it's only getting worse. And in fact, what we heard even as late as yesterday was that there is really talk that it's going to even escalate even more, perhaps even all-out war with Turkey, and possibly even spilling into Jordan. It's just a terrible situation, and so we're wanting to go into the middle of that and try to bring Bibles and hope to the folks that are there.
How big of a risk is that for you?
Well, for me, it's fine. I'm here in Los Angeles. So,
yeah, but for your crew, your team, yeah.
Yeah, we have, it is extremely dangerous for the people who will actually do it. What we're doing is we're trying to raise prayer support. We're trying to raise physical support to get a Gospel of John in Arabic out to the folks. We're also using smartphone apps. We can tell you about that if you want, but in just a second. But it is very dangerous for the folks that are there. The Christians who will then be receiving this and then in turn handing it to the folks that have never had a Gospel of John in their life and come from a Muslim background. It is literally life and death. So it's extremely risky for the folks that are there on the ground. But they are willingly doing it. Again, we always react to just whatever the field tells us, and the field said, we really need Gospels of John. We said, what do you want? And they tell us a whole long list, and we said, okay, well, what's the first thing you need? Because we can't do everything at once. What do you need? They said, Gospels of John. We want people to be able to have spiritual food, even though they also need real food. And we are sending humanitarian aid as well. But this is what they're asking for, and they're willing to risk their life for it.
All right, so if people want to sponsor maybe a case of those, what do they do?
Yeah, what they do, we go at worldwideadvance.org, worldwideadvance.org. Right there you can donate. It's it's a Gospel of John. This is in English, and this is obviously in Arabic, but in English we can read it a little better. Yeah. It's the full text of John. It has helps. It has how to receive Christ, how to tell other people about it once you have, how to walk with Christ. It's a full kind of self-contained. Here's how to be a Christian, and here's how to follow God. It's $1.23 for us to be able to print it and get it into there. It's costly to get it into there because of all the security hoops we have to go through. So that's what we're doing. We're hoping that people will say, hey, look, I can send 10, I can send 100 of these.
All right. Let me just say to our viewers and listeners, worldwideadvance.org. Jeff, it seems to me as volatile as the civil unrest is in Syria, it does provide for an opportunity.
Well, you know, in the middle of chaos is opportunity. Because right now, as you obviously follow the news very closely, you know that what's been going on the last few years of these revolutions, so-called Arab Springs happening, has really been where they kick out a really bad man dictator in exchange for Sharia law. And there's probably a really strong chance that in a little while this won't be able to get in there, because if the revolution goes the way everyone says it's going to go, and so. Absolutely. There's huge opportunity, not only to meet the needs of the people that are there who are suffering, but also to strategically put 100,000 of these inside of Syria right now before the door locks even more tightly than it has in the recent past.
You made mention that this could spill over into Turkey and into Jordan. I mean, this becomes a civil unrest throughout the entire Middle East. I mean, what are they fighting for? Are they fighting for one leader? I mean, what's the deal?
It kind of depends on who you ask. Is the answer to that? Obviously, inside of Syria, the civil unrest is the people rising up against the president, who they consider to be a dictator. And so, on one hand, they're freedom fighters, and they're trying to they all want democracy supposedly. But what you've seen recently is that that's not what happens, and that actually the people behind it are actually trying to make it, basically turning it into something that would look more like Iran than, let's say, Syria has in the recent past. And so that's what they're partially fighting for. Turkey, and there's a lot of longstanding tribal hatred amongst this area, and it's very complicated because even amongst, we tend to think of the Muslim world as we paint it with one big brush. But even there's Shiites, there's Sunnis, and they themselves really dislike each other. I had a friend of mine who's a Lebanese man was explaining to me that a Shiite dad would rather his daughter marry perhaps a Jew or a Christian than a Sunni, and the Sunni man the same way. So
that's a big statement.
They themselves are mad at each other over all sorts of long-standing hatred, long-standing conflicts, and so it's been going on.
Sounds like Rover's upset with it too. No, don't worry about that. No.
Uprising for sure.
No, we're all inclusive. Hey, tell me about the Arabic app.
Yeah, absolutely. What it is, here's the English version. I can show you my iPad here. Yeah. It's called The Most Important Story, and here, let me get
told them not to bother. But Jesus,
it's a storybook.
What's happening?
Wow.
And essentially, the English is available right now on the Apple iTunes Store. That's how you if you have an Apple or iPad or iPhone, you're able to. It's an interactive storybook that gives the whole story of Jesus and ends with a prayer of salvation at the end.
Wow.
So it's in English. You can see it right now. You can download it and find out what it's about. But we're launching that. We're in beta on it right now. We'll be just a few weeks away from being able to have that in Arabic. As you probably remember, that the Arab Spring Revolution was Twittered. Yeah. It was a revolution that started with and ended with smartphones, and so we want to try to put the print books in people's hands. We also are going to be dropping in through their ability to download it onto their smartphone an app that tells the whole story of Jesus and a plan of salvation.
Wonderful. Well, let me just again encourage our viewers and listeners, check out worldwideadvance.org and support them in their efforts. Jeff, what few moments we have left, it appears to me, from what I've heard you and others saying, that there's actually somewhat of an underground revival going on in the Middle East. I mean, there's some supernatural things happening with Muslims coming to Christ, and the risks that may bring upon their lives. Can you comment on that?
Yeah, I sure can. And in fact, I encourage people to go to our website and sign up for our prayer updates, because as much as we can, we will share that as we get pretty periodic updates, either through a number of different means, and we'd love to be able to share that. But yes, whenever there's conflict, whenever there's persecution, the church thrives. And the church, it's emboldening many of the people that are there. It's leading people to a sense of what is the meaning, what is all this. It raises life or death issues for people. And so we have heard many reports that there is quite a bit of a revival, of a sense of a quickening in people's hearts and minds to want to know about God, to want to know about Jesus. And in fact, the Muslim community is not a group that typically is always anti-Jesus. In fact, quite many people are wanting it. It's just the government and the leaders are keeping them away. But there's a great, strong curiosity to who is Jesus. Jesus is in their Quran. They hear about it. They know about, Jesus, of course. They hear things. But there is a curiosity that is just rampant in this area. And that's why it's really a timely opportunity, an amazing opportunity that we're able to be there in the middle of it.
Wow. How exciting. Again, worldwideadvance.org. You can join the prayer team. You can figure out some information about the app and support them. You say it's $1.23 to send the Book of John?
That's right. $1.23. And so we're saying, look, can you send 10? Can you send 100? Maybe adult Sunday school wants to get together and give whatever they can. A tent city, one of the refugee centers, it would be around 5,000 books is what one of the smaller cities could use. That's $6,000. That's a lot of money, but with a lot of people, maybe they want to pull their money and do it. It's an amazing opportunity.
How do you get them in without getting caught? Or can you say?
If I told you that, then we'd get caught.
Okay, all right, that's fine, that's fine.
We have our ways.
Oh, you have your ways. That's all I need to know. Can you comment quickly on the exchange with Israel and Syria the last couple of days?
Wow, I tell you, it's a sign of the escalation. And whenever Israel gets involved with any of these things, it's exponential. It's not just one other country. There's this whole potential ripple effects of Syria being involved. I mean, in Israel, excuse me, being involved. We are. It makes me extremely nervous as to what that could all lead to. Wow. It also makes me very hopeful to know that God is in control, ultimately, of all of this. So we have to keep focused on that, but God's in charge.
You're inspiring. Thank you. And let's stay in touch, okay? And
absolutely. Would love to come.
Yeah, and again, it's worldwideadvance.org. Go to Jeff's website there and do whatever the Lord leads you to do. Thank you, Jeff, for your time. Thank you for what you guys do. You're certainly in our prayer list, okay?
Thank you, Perry.
All right, God bless. All right, we'll see you next time on Focus Today.